Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Swati Rajput from Department of Geography, Shaheed Bhagat Singh College. In this module, we shall discuss about a very important concept, that is food security and its dimensions. The objectives of the chapter are to understand the concept of food security, to measure food security, the spatial pattern of food security globally, the spatial pattern of food security in India, the causes of food insecurity, the consequences of food insecurity. Food security is associated with food intake at individual and household, subnational and national level. A food secure household should be defined as one which has enough food available to ensure a minimum necessary intake by all members. The minimum is related to, among other things, body size, weight, sex, nature of work, and for women in pregnancy and lactation status. At an individual level, a food secure person does not live in fear of starvation and hunger. According to Food and Agricultural Organization 1984, the basic concept of food security implied that all people at all time have both physical and economic access to enough food for an active and healthy life. Its essential elements are availability to acquire it. However, the most comprehensive and perhaps largely acceptable definition came out of the World Food Summit at Rome in 1996, which states food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food to meet the dietary needs and food preferences for the active and healthy life. The definition emphasizes three critical dimensions of food security. 1. Physical supply of desired food in sufficient quantity. 2. An economic access indicating close link of purchasing power to food security. And third, the stability in supply, which include access to global food market. According to M.S. Swaminathan, the concept and views of food security has three different angles. 1. Food availability, which depends upon production and distribution. 2. Food accessibility, it means the access to food which determines by an individual's purchasing power, and in turn purchasing power is affected by livelihood access, access to housing and caste and gender discrimination. 3. Food intake, it is related to the absorption of food which is affected by sanitation, clean drinking water and healthcare. It is important to understand that food insecurity is assessed at any level to formulate policies and carry out plans in order to achieve social well-being. In fact, food security is a social concept which needs to be looked into from the point of view of well-being of society. Therefore, analyzing or calculating food security is just one step towards planning. It is very important to understand food system in the framework of society. It means that the causes and consequences of food insecurity need to be studied. This is because social security has its close association with food security. Socially and economically well-off people have access to nutritious diet, but the have-not section of society is deprived of it. Therefore, deprivation, dissatisfaction and inequality generally lead to social tension. Food insecurity will always remain an issue for deprived people. People who have an easy access to it might exploit the deprived for various things. To obtain a complete picture of development, it is not sufficient to realize the amount of resources brought about by economic growth. Rather, it is necessary to examine the impact of these resources to the life of the people. Food security cannot be detached from more and more better life, sustaining goods for all, respect and self-esteem, freedom from exploitation, community life which gives the sense of belonging. To repeat, food security is a condition in which a population has physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food over a period of time to meet dietary needs and preferences for an active life. Food insecurity is the inverse of food security, a condition in which population does not have access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food over a given period to meet dietary needs and preferences for an active life. Possible causes for insufficient food availability, insufficient food access and inadequate food utilization. The United States Department of Agriculture defines food insecurity as limited or uncertain availability of adequate and safe food or limited or uncertain ability to acquire acceptable foods in socially acceptable ways. FAO recognizes 4 essential pillars of food security, that is availability, access, utilization and stability. Food availability, it is a measure of the food that is and will be physically available in the relevant vicinity of population during the given consumption period through a combination of domestic production, stocks, trade and transfers. Food accessibility is a measure of population's ability to acquire available food during the given consumption period through a combination of its own production and stocks, market transactions or transfers. Food utilization, it is a measure of whether a population will be able to derive sufficient nutrition during the given consumption period from available and accessible food to meet the dietary needs. Food stability, it is related to regular intake of food. Even if one's food intake is adequate today, one is still considered to be food insecure if one has inadequate access to food on a periodic basis, risking a deterioration of one's nutritional status. Adverse weather conditions, political instability or economic factors like unemployment, rising food prices may have an impact on one's food security status. Global initiatives. In Rome 1996, at the World Summit on Food Security, the countries aimed at fighting against hunger. This summit was an outcome of a response to widespread hunger and malnutrition prevalent in the world, especially in underdeveloped countries and backward areas of developed countries too. The conference came out with 2 documents. The Rome Declaration on World Food Security, organized in 1996, its main objective was to analyze and assess food security situation in the world. It focused on food for all and easy access to safe and nutritious food. World Food Summit Plan of Action. It was formed to attain the food security at individual, household, national, regional and global level. It was decided that the moral principles shall become the basis of the plan of action. It focused on ensuring and enabling social and economic environment, implementing policies aimed at eradicating poverty and inequality, pursuing participatory and sustainable development practices, fostering a world trade system that is both fair and market oriented, anticipating natural disasters and crises, encouraging the optimal application and use of public and private investments, implementing, monitoring and following up the plan of action. Measuring food security. Food security is basic aspect of well-being. Monitoring food insecurity can help to understand the subgroup or regions with unusually severe conditions. Accurate measurement of such an essential aspect can help the policymakers and the officials to look into the causes and remedial measures of it. It is very difficult to measure food insecurity as it is a multifaceted and complex phenomena. To measure food insecurity at household level, NFS and USDA made 18-item core modules with the help of set of indicators. The task was ultimately to develop standard measures of food insecurity and hunger for United States at household level. Based on household conditions, events, behavior and subjective reactions, the data was clubbed as per the degree of severity of food insecurity, hunger experienced by a household in terms of single numerical value. They defined 4 categories: food secure, food insecure without hunger, food insecure with hunger, food insecure with hunger severe. According to World Bank, linking hunger and subnutrition with the inadequate food intake also allows the measurement of food insecurity in the terms of availability and apparent consumption of staple food and energy intake. It is also at times measured by food availability or consumption. To compare various countries for food security level, food balance sheet is created. As per a study by FAO, the 2 main driving forces in food production system are environmental capacity and human capacity. Where environmental capacity is influenced by climate, soil and water availability, human capacity refers to population, size and skills. The study shows that though China and India have agricultural output value in excess of $100 billion but are food insecure regions. Hunger and famine are recurrent phenomena which are accompanied by civil wars and epidemics in Africa. This makes Africa one of the most food insecure regions of the world. The FAO estimates that a total of 925 million people were undernourished in 2010 compared to 1023 billion in 2009. The figure 1 shows that according to World Hunger Report, nearly 4% of the world's food insecure people live in Northeast and North Africa, 25.81% in Sub-Saharan and around 62.42% in Asia and 5.7% in Latin America. Developed countries have only 2% of world's food insecure population. Global Food Security Index has been formulated by considering the concepts of affordability, availability and quantity across 113 countries. It has 28 unique indicators that manage to give both quantitative and qualitative analysis. Let us see the indicators in details. Affordability measures the ability of consumer to purchase food, their vulnerability to price shocks and the presence of programs and policies to support customers when shock occurs. This includes food consumption as a share of household consumption proportion of population under global poverty line, gross domestic product per capita, agricultural import tariffs, access to financing for farmers, presence of food security network programs. Availability measures the sufficiency of the national food supply, the risk of supply disruption, national capacity to disseminate food and research efforts to expand agricultural output. This includes sufficiency of supply, public expenditure on agricultural R&D, agricultural infrastructure, volatility of agricultural production, political instability, corruption, urban absorption capacity, food loss, quality and safety measures, the variety and nutritional quality of average diet as well as the safety of food. This includes diet diversification, nutritional standards, micronutrient availability, protein quality, food safety. Spatial pattern of food insecurity in world. Judging the food insecurity pattern at global level has various hindrances, especially the paucity of reliable data. According to the Global Food Security Index 2015, the high income economies dominate the top ranking positions. Saharan and sub-Saharan countries are still struggling to fight for hunger, but eventually show a slight improvement of 2.5% from their previous performance since past 2 years. Though many Asian countries are still struggling with the production, storage and distribution of the agricultural products, but their manufacturing sector is doing better than before. As a result, the score gap between Asia and Pacific and top scoring region is shrinking. The table 1 shows that nearly 14.67% of the nations of the world score more than 80 in GFSI. These countries are all developed nations, mostly located in North America and Europe. The countries included are USA, Singapore, Iceland, Austria, New Zealand, Germany, etc. Some of the nations with score of 60 to 80 are Finland, Poland, Greece, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Mexico, etc. They account for nearly 34% of the total nations. Between the score of 60 to 40 are mostly South American and Asian countries. They account for nearly 30% of the total. Around 21% of the nations are below 40 score in GFSI. These nations are Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Syria, Zambia, Cameroon, etc. Burundi is the lowest with 25.1 score. Country below 60 score are basically underdeveloped nations, either going through political turmoil, wars, or are severely prone to natural hazards. The Global Food Security Index 2016 shows that United States of America scores 86.6%, that is the highest, followed by Ireland, Singapore, Australia, Netherlands, France, Germany and Canada. India stands at 75th rank with 49.4 score. Other South Asian countries like Sri Lanka is the 65th rank with 54.8 score, Pakistan 78th with 47.8 score and so on. Food security status in India. The International Food Policy Research Institute calculated a hunger index for India in 2008. This is based on 3 indicators: calorie undernourishment, underweight children below 5 years of age and under 5 mortality rate. The result is based on the assumption that the states with high score are the ones where the situation of food availability is not good. The ISHI is constructed in the same criteria as the Global Hunger Index. The index follows a multidimensional approach to measuring hunger and malnutrition. It combines 3 equally weighted indicators: the proportion of undernourished as a percentage of population, reflecting the share of the population with insufficient dietary intake; the prevalence of underweight children under the age of 5, indicating the proportion of children suffering from weight loss and or reduced growth; and the mortality rate of children under the age of 5, partially reflecting the fatal synergy between dietary intake and unhealthy environments. The ISHI uses 2 set data sources for the estimation of Indian state level. The first round of the National Family Health Survey 2005-06 for India and the National Sample Survey data from 2004 to 2005. It is calculated and presented for 17 major states covering 96% of country's population. Table 2 shows that the hunger index of India, prevalence of undernourishment is more than 20% in the states of Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, etc. While in Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, it is less than equal to 15%. Proportion of underweight children below 5 years of age is very high in Madhya Pradesh, Bihar and Jharkhand, that is above 50%. If we look at the ranking of hunger index, we see that not a single state in India is either low or moderate in terms of its index score. Most of the states have a serious hunger problem, and the state Madhya Pradesh has an extremely alarming hunger problem. Even the best performing Indian state, Punjab, lies below 33 other developing countries ranked by GHI. Even more alarming is the fact that the worst performing states in India, Bihar, Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh have index scores similar to countries that are precariously positioned on the GHI 2008 rankings. For instance, Bihar and Jharkhand rank lower than Zimbabwe and Haiti, whereas Madhya Pradesh falls below Ethiopia and Chad. M.S. Swaminathan and Indian Council of Agricultural Research ranked the states as per their food security status in urban as well as rural India separately. Cumulative ranking system has been used to find the food security status. The states of Punjab, Delhi, Jammu, Assam, Kerala have higher ranks in the food security index. These states have better urban infrastructure. Punjab is comparatively a prosperous state and has higher level of production and availability of food grains. The states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa and Bihar have very low ranks because people living below poverty line are higher in their states. These states are very poor in urban infrastructure, literacy level is low and the parts of states lack basic household amenities. In Rural Atlas, Haryana recorded the highest level of energy intake per consumer unit per day at 3109 kilocalories, followed by Rajasthan at 3090 kilocalories and Punjab at 3007 kilocalories respectively. There are 5 states showing a relatively low average calorie intake: Tamil Nadu with 2347 kilocalories, Assam with 2406 kilocalories, Maharashtra with 2427 kilocalories, Kerala with 2451 kilocalories and Gujarat with 2470 kilocalories are at the bottom of the list. Cereals contribute the most to calorie intake compared to other foods. A higher level of cereal consumption is associated with higher levels of calorie intake in most states except Punjab. Here again, Bihar is little off the mark. Even though the cereal consumption is high, the consumption of other food is very low and hence the average calorie consumption is below the national average. The states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Assam, Karnataka and Gujarat show moderate levels of average calorie consumption but are below the national average. At the level of state average, we find that all the states consume adequate calories per consumption unit as per the norms set by India for rural areas. Only Tamil Nadu shows a slight shortfall which is negligible. The Rural Atlas food security map clearly shows that Himachal Pradesh and Punjab are the two most food secure states of India. The states of Gujarat, Orissa, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh are severely food insecure states of India. National Food Security Act in India. According to National Food Security Act 2013, around 1.2 billion people, that is 2/3 of India's population, shall get subsidized food grains. It is up to 75% of rural and 50% of the urban population has been covered under TPDS, Targeted Public Distribution System. As per this act, the beneficiaries of public distribution system can acquire rice at rupees 3 per kg and wheat rupees 2 per kg. The act also envisages the nutrition and health care of mother and children. The coverage and entitlement under targeted public distribution system is up to 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population will be covered under TPDS with uniform entitlement of 5 kg per person per month. However, since Antyodaya Anna Yojana households constitute poorest of the poor and are presently entitled to 35 kg per household per month, entitlement of existing AAY households will be protected at 35 kg per households per month. Causes of food insecurity. It is said that world food production is sufficient to meet the needs of the global population. Still, there is hunger prevalent in some regions of the world. This shows that food insecurity is not just a function of production, rather it has lot to do with many other factors. Location and physiography. Location, climate and physical settings of an area affects the agricultural production. The countries those are prone to natural disasters, floods and droughts are considered to be food insecure. For example, in 2011 in Ethiopia, Somalia and Kenya, the sudden drought led to crop failure and death of livestock. The region with good drainage network and fertile soil have fairly good amount of agricultural production as compared to dry or infertile areas. The climate and soil of Australia and New Zealand is suitable for rich pasture lands. Therefore, dairy farming is very popular and production is in bulk. Poverty. Many areas in the world are in the web of poverty and malnourishment. In fact, poverty or unstable economic conditions are considered to be the major factor of food insecurity. The term poverty comprises of an economic condition with very low income and money available for basic necessities. The World Bank data shows that many countries of Africa and Asia are having more than 40% of their population below poverty line. Some countries like Congo, Guinea, Liberia, Lesotho, Togo, Zambia, etc. have more than 50% of population below poverty line. People below poverty line are prone to have low nutritive and insufficient diet. This causes high malnutrition and hunger deaths in such areas. Lack of investment in production. The lack of investment in production reflects the supply side. Less of investment means lack of financial assistance to farmers. Investment is also needed in high quality seeds, irrigation facilities, fertilizers, land management, etc. Low investment in this section can lead to less production. A research done by FAO shows that investment in agriculture is 5 times more effective in reducing poverty and hunger than investment in any other sector. Wars and political unrest. The regions that face political unrest or wars generally are prone to food insecurity. The wars and displacement disrupts the continuous supply of agricultural produce. This also makes people poor and inaccessible to food grains. In recent times, Syria is an example of this. Nearly 50,000 casualties were reported and more than 4 lakh people get displaced. The refugees struggle for food and safe water. They lack basic amenities and health facilities. Public distribution system, production and distribution go hand in hand. The public distribution system has to be strong so that food is evenly distributed among all and everyone should have uninterrupted access to sufficient and safe food. It helps in managing the food economy. Through PDS, government distributes food at marginal cost so that it can reach masses, especially the urban poor. In any country where PDS is not strong and does not cater to the poor, it can lead to uncertainty of food. In India, there are 4,62,000 fair price shops. Still, people do not have access to sufficient food. Wastage of food and faulty food habits. According to the study of FAO, nearly 1/3 of food produced in the world remains unutilized. Besides not consumed, it is even wasted in many parts of the world. Moreover, faulty eating habits and overeating further complicates the problem. More than 36% of US adults are obese. According to National Center for Health Statistics, US, higher income group people are more prone to obesity due to overeating than middle or low income group. Whereas in developing countries or poor income group people lack of sufficient nutrients due to unavailability of food lead to malnourishment. Students, the chapter has briefly explained the concept of food security, its distribution pattern at national and international level, and causes and consequences of food security. Hope you find the chapter to be interesting and simple to understand. Thank you.